Welcome to Old Man's Sports Talk. I'm your host, Old Man Nate, and today we got a special guest going to join us today. You've heard me mention him a few times as he's sponsor. Well, not really sponsors, but he has a company called HXC Gaming that I'm always promoting on here every episode. And here is the owner of HXC Gaming himself, Old Man Jump. Welcome to the show, Old Man Jump.
What's up, bro? I'm glad to be a part of this.
We're glad to have you. Before we start even further, I want to also give a shout out to A and K Engravers, who also made my tumbler. They did an awesome job. It so happens to match this shirt. They got different colors, but yeah, they do an excellent job. If you're interested in getting you some tumblers made with the Old Man Sports Talk logo or uh, just your own stuff going on, reach out to me. You can email me, and you'll see there in the down below. You'll see my email address. Just reach out to email, and I'll get you the information.
Yeah, they did. They
So
actually did one of mine too. They did a nice little. I got my Giants cup engraved, super professional. Got it done in like a week for me. So I got two
yeah,
cups.
yeah, yeah. I seen those too. That was pretty tight. Speaking of your Giants, they made the playoffs
Hmm.
this year. I know you're a little happy, excited about that.
Super duper excited. Super duper
Yeah,
excited.
yeah. Your quarterback. People were upset. I think at first when y'all got him.
Hmm.
So there was another quarterback that was better than him, or if people thought was going to be better. I don't remember who it was. You might remember off
Hmm.
the top of your head.
Uh, Not Daniel Jones, but the one
Well,
before him, Eli Manning, was always getting picked on.
that was your quarter, but I'm saying when Daniel Jones was drafted, they wanted to go with someone else, I
Oh
believe.
yeah, we wanted to go. I wanted. He was at Ohio State. Is it not? He ended up going to Washington, and he didn't pan
Oh,
out.
that's the quarterback that passed away this summer.
Yeah, and he ended up
Yeah,
passing away.
yeah, yeah.
It's crazy how that happens, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
And he ended up not being that good in the NFL anyway. I'm
No.
not sure why,
Hmm.
but he didn't turn out like his his performances in NFL wasn't nothing like his performances in college.
Right, and that also could have been because of the team he's with. I still think sometimes some of those quarterbacks that get on a certain team and they're just not good. That's what happened to Baker. I think if you put Baker on the right team, he'll be okay. He's a decent quarterback. That's why he can just you can plug him in somewhere like the Rams, and then all of a sudden he just marches down the field with no problem. Where he can't do that with North Carolina because he has nobody. I think he could do that in Philadelphia also.
Right, right. I agree. It's all about your fit. Okay. It's all about the fit for each, really not just quarterback, but any player. Got to be in the right fit.
Hmm.
But I agree. Baker, I think, was put in the right situation at Cleveland.
Hmm.
However, I don't think the offensive coordinators did a great job with that situation, and it may have had something to do with Baker. I
Yeah.
don't know. I wasn't in there, but that offense was built to run the ball, and they should have been running the ball 65% of the time
Yep.
instead of passing the ball 65% of the time.
Hmm.
So now his first year or two, obviously his offensive line was horrible, but they overcame that, and
Hmm.
but he took them to playoffs. And then the next year, um, he played hurt a lot, but still the offensive play calling. I mean, you got Nick Chubb back there, and you got Kareem Hunt.
Correct. Yep.
Uh,
You do.
I mean, those should have been the ball. They should have been getting the ball between them. There should have been 40 carries a game.
Easily.
Yeah,
Easily. And
yeah,
that would have opened up Baker's passing because we all know what he
exactly,
can do when he passes. He can throw dimes. But when you're
exactly.
only depending on throwing dimes, it's a problem.
Yep. He's got to work on his game too. I've said on the show that he doesn't have no touch passes.
Right.
It's throwing it as hard as he can almost every time, and he's got to get better at that.
and he's
Yep.
got to learn to shut up too. Like, don't talk too much.
Yep.
Just have that chip on your shoulder, but don't let everybody know you got the chip on your shoulder. Just Tom Brady got a chip on his shoulder. You hardly ever see him talking smack to people. Only on the field. He does it on the field, and when he gets off the field, he stops talking again. So
Yeah. I was actually glad to see the referees give him a penalty last night
yeah,
for throwing the ball down
yeah, mm-hmm.
because he never gets. You're right. He's allowed to. He gets freedom, too much freedom, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of time.
Yep,
He even got mad last night. Uh, the defensive line pushed him down after he threw the ball. He
yep,
got in both of them face, and the referee came and separated them.
yep.
I mean, he's old. He's a little bit more fragile than he was, 20 years ago. But
Mm-hmm.
but still, he gets away with too much stuff
Way too
and
much.
way too much. And I was glad to see that penalty come out. It didn't really affect the game. I think it was fourth down anyway, so it didn't
Yeah,
affect anything. But yeah, I was glad to see that.
yeah.
So today, reason we brought you on is we wanted to talk a little bit about OU football. This last Thursday we had the Cheez-It Bowl between
Yep.
OU and Florida State. I know you watched the game. I watched the game.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to get your thoughts. What you thought of the game?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, yeah, let's just get your thoughts. What you thought about how OU played
Mm-hmm.
during the game?
That it one thing it confirmed for me watching that game. I don't like moral victories a lot. It's rarely from me, but it just showed that the University of Oklahoma has a football program and not a team. Like, we really have a program. We have two backups come in and just run the ball like they're starters. I don't know how Marcus Major is going to get on the field next year, but man, the Gavin Shawchuck kid is a superstar. And then for the receivers, it's just to come and just you plug them in. You just plug in our receivers, and it's just the same thing over and over again. Dylan Gabriel threw the ball well, no picks again. It just showed that the University of Oklahoma is a really good football program, and that's what I was so excited about. Because I'm telling you, I went in thinking we're about to get the doors blown off of us, and it's Florida State the last three times we've broke their hearts and we won games, and I'm like, okay, surely we're gonna just lose this game really badly, and it was the exact opposite. These kids looked really good. Even our line, I thought the offensive line, even though they was getting exposed and missing they were getting in our backfield, it didn't matter. It was almost like Florida State, pick your poison how you want to lose this game because we're going to go up the field with no problem. And then it just comes back to, I think, not blaming stuff too much on the coaches, just game management. Let the Florida State slowly creep back in, if that makes sense.
So I agree with everything you said. You mentioned the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Really, 4 out of 5 starters missed that Florida State game.
Yeah.
Two of them already had declared for the NFL draft,
Mm-hmm.
and one was already injured. And then 3 plays into the game, another one got injured and was out for the game.
Right.
So really, 4 out of 5 starters played the whole game and did a great job. Now the passing protection wasn't great. It was, they had to roll out Dylan a lot, which they can do because he is mobile.
Right. And
And
we got weapons.
he got weapons, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like you mentioned, their run game was unbelievable. And here's the thing. I was looking at some things the other day to prepare for the show I did for the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that Florida State's run defense was top 5 in the country?
Oh my God.
Yep.
You couldn't tell. You couldn't tell Thursday.
You couldn't tell. And here's another thing. We talked about opt-outs and stuff, or people declaring for the draft and sitting out, entering transfer portal, whatever they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Florida State had 0 opt-outs.
0.
OU had a few, not a lot. We had a few, right?
Right.
Some of them, like I mentioned,
We had quite
Huh?
a bit. We had a lot of people transfer portal, but then again, all those people that transferred, they were backup guys. We didn't have Theo Weiss.
Right. We didn't have Theo Weiss, which was a starter. We
Yeah,
didn't have Jalen Redmond, who was a starter. Um,
Marcus, no
they had
Marcus Major, no Gray.
right. Marcus Major was hurt. You mentioned that Gray had opted out, and I
Hmm.
think Gray deserved to go to the NFL. He did a great for us this
Absolutely,
year, so
absolutely.
he earned his time.
Hmm.
So yeah, we did have a few opt outs. Now I will say this: I don't know if you heard this, but Nick Saban said something the other day after the what was that, the Sugar Bowl they played in,
Hmm.
and I kind of agree with him. I don't really agree with some of the stuff he says, but
Hmm.
he mentioned that Bryce Young played and that other defensive kid played that was really good, and he said they were setting the example, as leaders. He said he doesn't understand why players choose to opt out for the NFL draft or to go prepare for the NFL draft because when you say you're going to prepare for the NFL draft, you're really going to prepare for the NFL combine. And the
Hmm.
NFL combine has nothing to do with you're not displaying your skills on the field,
Right,
right?
right.
Whereas the bowl game gives you another opportunity to
Hmm.
display your skills on the field.
On the field. Yeah,
And he said you increase your value. I think is what words he put.
and he is spot on about that.
I
'Cause-
agree. I agree with that.
mhm,
I mean, I can't tell nobody what to do.
mhm,
I understand if you go play in this bowl game, there is a chance that you can get hurt. And has it happened before? Yes, it has.
mhm.
However, we as fans, we want to see you on the field one last time. You as a player should want to play with your teammates one last time.
Yep.
Unless you're in a bad situation, even Caleb Williams, we all knew he was leaving, going to USC or
Hmm.
leaving, going somewhere, but it was most likely USC when he played in the bowl game last year. But
Yeah.
he played one last time with his Sooner teammates. I gave him a little bit of credit for that.
And Mario Williams too.
Mario played? I don't remember
Yeah.
if Mario did or not, but
Mario had a long 70-yard touchdown and his helmet came off and they called it back because his helmet got pulled off. And so
okay.
instead of it being a 70-yard bomb touchdown, he got his touchdown taken back from him. But Mario played
Okay.
too. Mario loved it here, but he left for the same reasons, NIL deals. So
Yeah.
kudos to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was really impressed with OU because we had a terrible season. We were 6-6 at the time. Finished, we did lose the games. We finished 6-7.
Yeah.
We lost 4 games though by a field goal. 4 games by a field goal. So
Yeah.
we could have easily been 10-2,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so and then we lost one more by a touchdown. We only got really blown out twice, and that was obviously Texas
And
and
that was not having
TCU.
a quarterback too.
Yeah, Texas and TCU. We didn't have quarterback at
We,
all against Texas, and
we didn't have
TCU.
Dylan either.
Gabriel got hurt.
Yeah, we didn't have him either. I think that I tell people, you know me, I've been hard on Dylan all year long because I'm a spoiled brat. I'm used to having Baker, Kyler,
Yep.
all these Heisman Trophy winners, and I think if we have him to TCU, we don't lose that bad either. It's a close
Well,
game again.
well, he got hurt in that game, but he wasn't playing well.
Yeah,
He had made some
TCU was on
overthrows.
fire. Yep,
Huh?
TCU was on fire that day. Their defense
Yeah.
is great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We could not have won that game
Mhm.
without better defense.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing. Same reason we lost Kansas State. We had an offense. We put up good numbers. It was defense that
Hmm.
let us down. So we weren't going to win those games without defense. And
Yep.
probably you can really blame all of our losses
On the
on
defense.
defense.
With that being said, though, can I play a caveat to you? And it's kind of what happened with this game too with the defense. I think it's weird how the defense plays really good. I've seen some goal line stops. I've seen some really short yard stops. And then they give up one or two big plays and it just erases everything they've done well, if that makes sense. Because,
Yeah.
like, a lot of those games we had won, and then it's just like one or two plays, and teams are right back in it. And we've dominated the game majority of the game, and the yardage looks bad because it's been two or 3 long 60-yard drives. And it looks bad on 2 or 3 possessions because the defense, they do so well, but then it's like 1 or 2 possessions they don't do well, or it's vice versa. The offense just needs to get a touchdown, and if they get that touchdown, the game's out of reach. Does that make sense? It's that I'm seeing it happen almost out of those 4 or 5 games we lost. Every one of them was like we're up 12, and then if we get this touchdown, not a field goal, a touchdown, the game is over. That's out of reach. And they're not getting that touchdown. They're kicking a field goal or missing a field goal. And then the other team, touchdown, ball game. Have you noticed that?
Well, that's funny you bring that up because I was going to talk about this also. In the Florida State game, there's 2 key plays I feel like that happened the reason we lost the game. One of them was early in the game. We're up 14-3. First and goal. Shawshank or Shawchunk, I don't remember his name, but he runs the ball up the middle, spins off a defender, walks in the end zone. We're up 21-3, but guess what? There's a yellow flag on the field for holding. And it was the right call.
It was the right call.
It was the right call, but we ended up attempting a field goal out of it, and we missed it. We missed the field goal.
And that's the points you need.
So instead of being up 21-3 or 17-3, we're still at 14-3. Florida State finally has a good possession because we've been playing really good defense and probably the best defense we had played all season up until that moment. And then Florida State drives down the field, not only gets a touchdown, but a 2-point conversion. So now it's 14-11, and we got a whole new ballgame. So, and after that, it was probably tooth and nail all the way down. And then I believe it was the 4th quarter, maybe late in the 3rd, Shawshank again. This time he fumbles the ball. We lose it. And instead of extending our lead at that point, we was driving down the field. We was like around their 25 or 30-yard line.
Yeah, and it's ball game. I'm telling you, we score right there. It's over. They're not coming back. I'll take it a step further though for you though, Nate, on that.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't understand. Here's where coaching comes in. Having new coaches, here's the bad part. They don't get in officials' faces enough. And this is not an officiating issue. Let me be clear on that. The officials, I think they refed a pretty damn good game. Several times in that game, the ball was spotted wrong. Several times. One time for us, when we 3rd and short, it should have been a first down. We got the first down anyway, but it was short. It's those little yardage that hurts teams. Florida State was 3rd and something, and they didn't get it. They're a yard short. Even the announcer announces it, and it's just a first down. And I'm like, okay, BV's gonna get down his neck and complain about it. No, he doesn't do nothing. He just talking to his defense. And that's the problem I have. Is like, you're no longer a defensive coordinator. You are now a head coach. You need the defensive coordinator to be doing that. You just missed a possible stop, because here's our chance for our defense to do like they did twice this game when Florida State. Remember, they was on their own 40. They didn't respect our defense. Our defense stopped them. Here's a 4th and 1 that didn't get to happen because BV's not doing his job.
So that particular play you're talking about, that's a great point. You're right that he was short. He was whether it be a half a yard or a yard short, he was definitely short.
Right.
I don't know enough. I need to find out with all these dang challenges we can do now, the coaches can do. I really don't know if coaches can challenge plays or not. If they can, they need to.
They can, but they be just depending on the booth too much. And what I've seen is just several times this year, we should be challenging, and BV's not doing nothing.
Well, if they can challenge, then they need to have a play. I mean, you look up in them booths, they'll show the booths, they'll have 20 people up there. Yeah. Somebody needs to be designated to watching the game, meaning on TV.
Yeah.
Because that will, and I don't know the rules. Maybe they can't have a TV up there. I don't know. But um, they need to be. There needs to be somebody that is in their ear saying, "Hey, challenge, challenge. We need a challenge," because
Yeah.
that was a key point. You're right, and
Mm-hmm.
they may have went for it and they may have got it,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't know. And that opportunity was taken away because he was definitely short,
Yeah.
definitely short,
Definitely short.
definitely short. And so you're right. That is a good point. And as far as what you also mentioned about, Brent Venables, and there's been a lot of talk about this. He needs to give up the defensive coordinator job, or duties, I should say, to the.
Mm-hmm.
He has a defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to give up the duties. I don't know if you may see some change this offseason
Mm-hmm.
where we may have a new defensive coordinator. It's possible that maybe he didn't trust his defensive coordinator enough,
It
right?
could be. It could be.
And he wanted to still be involved. Because it seemed, I remember watching the very first game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
He was just as calm as can be on the sidelines.
Right.
He didn't have no holdback guy. He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't doing no signals,
Right.
no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But after that game, though,
Mm-hmm.
he was doing the signals.
Mm-hmm.
They had a holdback guy. He wasn't as fired up as he was when he was at Clemson or when defense
Right.
coordinator here at OU. But and you're right. And then after, when defense goes over to the bench, he's over there talking to him because our defensive coordinator's upstairs.
Yeah.
There needs to be somebody else to do that.
Just
He's
the
got
other
other
little things.
he's got other defensive coaches on his staff.
Yep.
They need to be responsible for that. He can say,
Mm-hmm.
he's got a headset. He can tell them what he wants said, and they need to
Mm-hmm.
do it because you're right. He has got to stay focused on the game.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of people complaining about it. But I will say this, though.
He's doing a good job, though. I will tell you that.
He's doing a great job. And I'm not saying people are wrong about it,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't hear people complain about the head coach that still calls offensive plays, right?
Right. Right.
Now, I will say this also. Lincoln Riley, who's been doing offensive calling plays for years, it's like he don't care about his defense.
Yeah.
I mean, we seen him here at OU.
Yeah.
The defense didn't get no better, and if you just watched him on TV a while ago,
Yeah.
I think it's funny.
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
laughing because the
Mhm.
same thing that was happening over here.
Mhm.
And if you've seen my post on Facebook, I said I was not surprised that
Mhm.
Tulane won because they almost came to Norman and beat us last year.
Yeah, they got a
Right?
good football team. They got a
Yeah.
great
But
football
here
team.
last year they almost beat us, and they won 2 games last year. This
Right.
year they went 11-2. So and beat
Yeah.
Kansas State, by the way, the Big 12 champion.
Yeah. You know what that is, though, why they do that? Is because Tulane reminds me a lot like Kansas State, is that they're just so disciplined. They're not
Yeah.
going to make a lot of mistakes, but you are. And they capitalize on all your mistakes.
And that's exactly what happened. So they get that touchdown, pull within 8,
Mhm.
they kick off, and the kickoff, the receiver called for a fair catch, but he dropped the ball and it went out of bounds at the 1 yard line. Like you just said, they made a mistake.
They made
And then what happens? They get a safety. So now they're within 6 and they get the ball back. So
just and that's a sure-handed person like Mario Williams. What better hands you wanted in than him? But I also think, and I'm sorry, I have to be petty. Did you notice those games that USC lost were all due to people that transferred from OU or had something to do with OU? It was almost like the football gods were punishing them. Mario Williams drops this ball on the 1 yard line.
yeah.
Did you notice that it was McLaughlin that gave up the touchdown that Tulane had, the big one?
No, because I don't honestly, since USC don't have their names on their jerseys, I don't
Yeah.
know who is who.
That was our old corner, our
Yeah.
our old
But he
corner.
didn't play at OU. I mean, he was on
Yes,
the
he
team,
did.
but he never got no playing time.
No, he got playing time. He got a lot of playing time. You didn't see him in that Texas game. He was the one that was getting burnt. And then when they swapped him out for
Oh, okay.
yeah, he was the one that gave up all the points when we came back down 28.
Okay.
So he has the same bad habits there that he had here. And even in the Utah game, all the last 2 touchdowns they got was that guy. So sometimes it's just the players. That's why I was telling guys, like, we need some of these guys just to go. Like Justin Broyles, going back to the FSU game, he couldn't play that ball any better. I can't be mad at that kid.
No, that was good. Yeah.
He was there, but
Yeah.
he's undersized. That's not the matchup they wanted, and we paid for it. And it's just
Yep.
like we got to get to a point to where it don't matter where you put the ball, we're gonna have a dog there, you know? Because
Right.
Justin played that ball right. He just got
He
beat.
did.
That was
He
an
did. That was a
amazing
great catch. It
catch.
was a one-hand catch too.
One-handed catch. That looked like the one, I don't know if you remember, when we had, was it Bradley? It was somebody number 1 for OU, and he broke his arm, and they just threw him in there for a play, and Baker throws a bomb over the middle, and he just caught it with one hand. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
And he caught it with his bad hand. I'm going to send you that clip. And it
Okay.
was ridiculous. It was the same thing. I was like, wow, they deserve to win this game because you're not supposed to catch that. Because a lot of this with football is it requires some luck.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, just where I'm getting at is the same. The poor management is the only thing that concerns me about Brett Venables because he's a good coach. I think he did a fabulous job this year. People are calling for his job, of course, already. But I'm thinking, like, what can you do when you got people that don't understand how to run, what to do on defense? And
Right.
it was, you could, now that I look back at those first 3 games, I see why we was in this soft zone press because no one could man up. Or, there's certain guys like Woody Washington that can, and what's the other kid's name? We have one more corner that's really good, but the rest of the guys, they have to turn and just take off or let someone catch and go before them. Like Deshaun White struggled a lot this year. Like, I don't think he should have went to the NFL. I think he should have found a couple more games to play in or something because he was just always out of position. And that's why I was telling people, it's like, man, you can only coach so much. You're right there to make a tackle. You got to make the tackle. Brett can't make the tackle,
Right. So with Deshaun White, he left because he probably was going to see the field less and less next year.
Yeah.
He's a linebacker, but they put him in what they call the cheetah position, which is a linebacker / nickel position. And he's just not physical enough to play linebacker. Right. Danny Stutzman is OU's linebacker. And that dude in the Florida State game played like I ain't seen a linebacker play that good since Brian Bosworth.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was a missile.
Yes. He was. Does he make mistakes? Yes. He's only a sophomore.
He's a sophomore.
Okay.
Yep.
But and a true sophomore at that. And it's only it's all of them's first year in the defense with Brent Venables. So they're gonna make mistakes. They made a lot of mistakes.
Yep.
The future looks bright though to me. It looks really bright. I was so happy. I mean, I'm so glad that Danny Stutzman's gonna be back. I'm so glad that Bowman's gonna be back. Those two guys right there are gonna be the leaders of our defense for the next 2 years.
Oh, so Bowman's not gone? I thought Bowman was a senior.
Heck no, he's only a freshman.
Oh my God, really? And he's the one that got the interception, right?
Yeah, he's got the interception.
Yeah, he's
only a freshman. He's a true freshman at that.
Yeah, we needed him against Texas Tech. We didn't have him one game, right?
Well, in Texas Tech, that was the last game, but you're right. It was against Baylor, I think.
It was somebody, and we could tell he wasn't there because I'm like,
he's our best player in the secondary. Yeah. He's the only player in the secondary that I believe will see significant playing time next year. I know.
What about Woody Washington?
I know he announced he's coming back. Mm-hmm. He's going to play. He's going to start, but he's not going to. Matter of fact, I'll even predict by the end of the season he will not be the starter. All right.
What about you know who else we're missing that I didn't realize until last game? I mean, I know he switched, but I just noticed that
DJ Graham.
Yes.
Yeah. He said he wanted to go to offense. Now he's not getting no playing time on offense, so I don't know. He may enter the transfer portal. I don't know. He didn't want to play defense no more. And he said when he came to sign for OU, they gave him the option, and they said if you ever want to play offense, you'll get the opportunity. Right. So even though different coaching staff, they let him still do that, and he hadn't been on the field. So I don't know. It'd be interesting if he chooses to come back next year.
Yeah.
But so this time last year, we lost Ricky. So this time last year, hold on, I think he's trying to come back in here. Get Ricky back.
Sorry about that. I accidentally clicked out the window. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, cool. I hear you.
Yeah. So this time next year, what?
This time last year, We had just announced the hiring of Brent Venables,
Mhm.
and I know me and half of Sooner Nation, if not all of Sooner Nation, was super excited that we got Brent Venables as our coach.
Yeah.
Uh, as a matter of fact, really, that was the news here in Oklahoma. Every update was all over the news, including when he
Mhm.
landed at the airport in Norman.
Right.
There was thousands of people at the airport.
Yeah.
Channel 9 was there. I was actually watching on Channel 9, and they had the band there, or not,
Hmm.
obviously not the whole band, but they had band members there. They had I don't think they had the ponies in the wagon there, but I think they had the mascot Boomer and
Yeah.
Sooner there,
Yeah.
and it was a big deal. Sooners really, Sooner fans were really excited. Most of them thought, "Man, we're going to the national championship next year. We just got Brent Venables. Our defense is going to be the best defense we ever seen."
Right. I thought we were just gonna go 10-2, maybe 10-3. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't know how he's gonna keep this piece this together.
Well, I thought we would be better. I didn't think we'd lose 7 games this year, but I thought we would compete, if not win the Big 12 championship, and basically for a couple reasons.
Hmm.
You know, our we still have players that was getting us to these championships, right? So I thought we had enough talent to get there. I thought better coaching is what was keeping us back. Now I still think that we improved big time on the defensive when it comes to coaching, but I don't think that me personally, realized that how difficult the system is that
Hmm.
Brent likes to run. And
Right.
so an average person is going to take them a long time to pick it up. And really, it's going to take them more than one season to
Hmm.
pick it up. And not knowing all that is where I failed at. And I
Yeah.
think most of the Sooner fans failed at.
Yeah.
So if you're a Sooner fan out there calling for Brent's head, you just got to be patient.
Yeah.
Those championships are coming. Even when we go to the SEC, those championships are coming.
Yeah. Because all it is we need pieces. We don't need bookies. I think that was the problem with Lincoln is we would have because we got some dudes. Like, let's be
Hmm.
clear, we're watching them in the NFL every other game. The
Yeah.
problem is we have for every four dope guys we have one really bad. And I hate to call college players bad because like I never
Hmm.
played at that level, but
Right.
clearly Buki was a chink in our armor. I remember when West Virginia kept picking on him all day long. It got to the point where they had to take Buki out the game. You don't
Yeah.
get that when you play against Alabama. You don't get that when you play against Texas. You don't get that when you play against any of these teams that we're watching in the playoffs. You can't do that.
Hmm.
And what's been happening with Oklahoma is one person goes down, and now we're in this predicament where it's like, dang, I wish Marquise was healthy today. You know,
Hmm.
we gotta continue to be that program like when we played against Alabama, we beat them in the Sugar Bowl. Nobody could remember that what's our fullback that we had at the time that was ridiculously good? I forgot his name. Oh,
Was that JD Runnels?
no, not JD. He was the one that could catch real good. He hurdled a Texas player in the Red River game. I forgot his name. I'm normally good with players' name. But we were out with people that game, but you couldn't tell because we had a bunch of dudes on our team. And that's how we got
Right.
to stay. You shouldn't be if somebody gets hurt, next person up.
Hmm.
That's a football team. But that hasn't been the case the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
One person gets hurt and it's like, oh no, you know, we're in trouble. It's always what makes me mad is when people be like, you guys got exposed again. And it's like, no, we're not getting exposed. It's just that Lincoln's youth is showing. Some of the players are recruiting is showing. That game against
Mm.
Alabama, the second time we played them, I don't know if you remember, they jumped out on us, but then we come back. We come roaring back. But it was after Lincoln got stopped being stubborn and took Marquise out the game because Marquise was clearly hurt. But
Right.
it's just like, come on, fire somebody else in. And the moment he does, 50-yard touchdown. So I don't know, man. Hopefully the culture continues to change. I got a good question for you before we. There's some couple things I want to talk about with the Florida State game, but I want to ask you one question. Do you think we win We lose 4 games or less next year.
So, that's a good question. I would like to say, with what I seen at the Florida State game, particularly the tackling, I thought the tackling was way better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to seeing OU teams, and this is back when the Mike Stoops era, and even
Yeah,
with the Grinch era, that when our defenders were just trying to hit people,
yeah,
they weren't trying to wrap people up, right?
yeah, yeah.
Danny Stutzman and Bowman, they wrap people up.
Mm-hmm.
And so that tells me that they did a lot of tackling drills um, between the last game and between the Florida State game. It was
Mm-hmm.
pounded in their head to wrap people up.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that will help go a long ways. I like what I've seen, like you mentioned with Dylan Gabriel, our offense. It's just plug and play with
Mm-hmm.
everybody except for the quarterback.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I like our running backs. Like you mentioned, I like Marcus Major. He stayed
Mm-hmm.
hurt a lot this year,
Yeah.
and that may have cost him his chance to play next year at OU. I'm
Yeah.
not saying he won't be on the team,
Yeah.
but we got 2 freshmen coming in that are studs. One
And I
from North
was, yeah,
Carolina, another one from Texas, and they're not. I mean, they're
yeah,
gonna. It's gonna be hard for those 2 to get on the field.
yeah.
So
Gavin, under no circumstance should Gavin not be the starter.
yeah,
Period.
yeah. Well, I think Barnes will probably get started, but I think both of them will play. We don't ever just play one running back.
Right.
It Matter of fact, well, this year really only 4
Mm-hmm.
running backs uh, hit played, and that was now I'm talking about before the Cheez It
Yeah.
Bowl,
Yeah.
and that was Barnes,
Mm-hmm.
Gray started, and then Major was really the backup.
Mm-hmm.
Barnes though came in, and that Walker kid
Yeah.
got a little bit, but he's not going to play no more next year.
Yeah.
Walker's not going to get the field, man.
Yeah.
So
But I don't understand this in Marcus Major's defense. Even in was it the Texas game? No, it was a game before Texas, Nebraska. When we played Nebraska, Marcus scored 2 quick touchdowns easily. I don't. I think he's still
he's a
resourceful.
good player. I'm not saying he's not good. He
I
is
don't think he.
good.
I don't think he should transfer. A lot of people think he should transfer. I think he should sit right where he's at because you don't know what could happen. An injury, injuries are real. We lose Gavin. He needs to be able to okay, I'm plugging right in. So
I agree. I don't know him personally. I don't know his goals, his aspirations. I don't know how
mhm,
bad he wants to go get a shot at the NFL. Um, I mean, you don't have to get a lot
yeah,
of playing time. Look at Carson for Seattle. He was a
yeah,
backup at OSU and
yeah,
went over there and was a starter until he had to medically retire.
yeah.
So,
And he was doing
but
good.
you do want the opportunity,
Yeah,
and he's a big guy. I don't know what his injuries are. They haven't announced what that is though. So I don't
yeah,
know. Like Rodney Anderson, he tore his ACL twice,
yeah,
and he still got a shot in the NFL, and he tore it again in the
mm,
NFL.
yeah.
So
And that's just one of those things. Some people's bodies are different because I think Rodney
yeah,
Anderson, he was getting ready to have a long career. Did you see how well he was playing in the preseason games? Rodney
Rodney,
Anderson?
yeah, and that's when he got hurt.
Yeah. And he was just
The
running all
last
over
one.
people.
Yeah, he was. So, but to answer your question, I don't want to say right now. I am optimistic. I'm very optimistic that we could compete for the Big 12 title next year. So, to answer your question, will we lose more than 4 games next year? I'm saying no right now, but I also gotta. I haven't even the schedule hasn't even been released for the Big 12 yet,
No, it hasn't. Right. And then
and
we do got the new teams coming in next year, right?
we got new teams, and you know what? Uh, here's for all y'all listeners out there. Here's a little nugget. You can say, "Old man Nate told y'all this first." I wouldn't be surprised if we're able to sneak out into the SEC as soon as next year,
Mm,
because there's a reason. There's a reason why the schedule has not been released yet. Okay,
yeah.
it was supposed to have been released early December,
Mm,
and the schools, especially all the Big 12 schools that are going to be here, when us in Texas leave, they're all upset because we're only supposed to be around one more year, and
Right.
they all want a chance to make the extra money
Right.
because you know when OU and Texas leave,
Mm-hmm.
there's not going to be a stadium that holds more than 60,000.
Mm.
All right,
Right.
and those schools, none of them sell out.
Right.
Maybe BYU, when they have a good game, they'll sell out. Outside of that, though, even Cincinnati don't
Yeah.
sell out,
Right.
right? Texas never sold out anyway, but
Right.
they're going with us anyway. None of those current Big 12 teams ever sell out. When OU and Texas come to town, that's when they have the biggest most fans in the stand. That's when they make the most money.
Yep.
So they all want that one extra chance
Yep.
to make one last good paycheck for them. And if
Mm-hmm.
they can, and if they can't make everybody happy, which they're not going to be able to with us just being here 1 year,
Yeah.
then I would not be surprised if they say, "Well, just tell them to go. Here's their money.
Here's their
We'll,
money.
we'll take
Yep.
care of it. Y'all go. Get out of here."
Yep.
Because they don't want us here. None of them. They try to exclude us from all the meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
They don't want us there. Which is,
Yeah.
I mean,
Which is
me
fine.
as an OU fan, I want to stay around one more year because, after the season we just had,
Yeah. I want
I
to walk away
want
with a trophy.
I want us to get better. I don't want to go in. I don't want to go in to SEC being at the level of Mississippi State
Mm-hmm.
or really even Texas A&M right now, or Vanderbilt or South Carolina or Missouri. I want
Mm-hmm.
to be at the level of Georgia and Alabama and Tennessee right now.
Right.
If we're not there, then it's going to, you know, I don't want to hear all these SC fans. Well, I told you so when you got here. They're loud enough as it is. I
Yeah.
want to go in there and I want to say, I told you so. It's
Yeah.
what's going to happen when we come. I want to be the one to be able to talk crap. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think, I do think that we're gonna win or not gonna lose 4 games next year. I think our defense is gonna be good. And here's the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
We are getting Brent Venables players. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we played with Grinch's players, and not saying that none of those guys were good because, like you said, we were still putting guys in on the defense
Yeah.
in the NFL.
Right.
And there's going to be some of those guys that were here from recruited by Grinch that will play in the NFL right
Yeah.
now, like
Yeah.
Redmond. Redmond's going
Right.
to play in the NFL.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know about anybody else,
Yeah.
but
When Isaiah Cole goes the following year, he will be in the NFL.
yeah,
I still think would he eventually be in the NFL? I think he'll get a year or two out of it. So we got some guys still going to the NFL.
yeah.
Definitely. The
Now,
problem with I was talking about Deshaun White and having people that can handle their job. A good example of that is Deshaun White had 9 tackles yesterday, which is on Thursday, which is the most between everybody, right? But here's the problem. He also missed the most critical tackles. He had no tackles for loss, but he was in the backfield a good 6 times, and he missed 4 or 5 tackles. So that's something that he's got to work on. He can't miss that many tackles, especially the ones for loss.
right. But we're bringing in the recruit. I don't know if you've seen the recruiting class.
Mm-hmm.
The recruiting class, we finished in the top, was depending on
Top
which
10.
service you look at, anywhere from 3 to, I think 7, 3 to 7. And we signed 25 players. 15 of them were on the defensive side.
Mm-hmm.
We've got already, I believe, 5 transfer portal commits
Yep.
from other schools, and 4 of them are on the defensive side.
Yep.
So we are, a strong focus on our defense, and it
Yep.
should be. Is what we've been wanting. Is what OU fans have been begging for the last decade. Is
2 decades.
Well, no, we weren't terrible for 20 years,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
But because in 2008 we was defense was pretty good.
Yeah,
when we played for the national championship.
Yeah, they were good. We had that game. Another game.
Couple mistakes. And that's all games are a lot of times.
Yep.
Is just 1 or 2 mistakes,
1 to
It can
2.
cost you the whole game. When it's a close game, it's going to cost you the whole game. But,
Yep.
but yeah, I think I'm really excited on our defense we're bringing in. So, um, our defensive backs, like right now, you mentioned Buki,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
We don't recruit Bookies no more. If
And
you
that makes sense.
5'9", sorry, you can go play for OSU. You can go
Mm-hmm.
play for Texas Tech,
Right.
but you ain't gonna come play for OU.
Right.
Um, you we're looking at really 5'11", but most of them
Mm-hmm.
are 6'1", 6'2"
Mm-hmm.
defensive backs, corners and safety. We got linebackers that are
Mm-hmm.
6'1", 6'2".
Mm-hmm.
That's in the recruiting class, right?
Right.
So I'm really excited what we got coming in. Now I'm not, and some of them will see the field next year.
Yep.
Now, will all of them? No. Um, but I'm
Yeah.
excited for the future of it.
I'm not worried
Offense,
about that part. I'm not worried about getting guys and them not playing because we have a program. If they just
yeah,
stick it out, they'll be fine.
that's right. But we're getting these guys now where you just mentioned, when somebody gets hurt, now we're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh crap.
Yeah. I'm
Now,
tired of that.
now when somebody gets hurt, we're like, okay, next man
Mm-hmm.
up. We got you.
Exactly.
And that's what Alabama's been doing. That's what Georgia's been doing.
That's what happened with
For,
LSU. We realized that, right?
huh?
The year we played LSU,
Yeah,
a lot of people talk about, oh, Oklahoma got blown out. We had 9 players out.
yeah,
I'm surprised. I'm telling you, if we would have had half of those guys back for that game, I think we still lose because LSU was amazing. But maybe it's they went on the last possession or something like that versus them just run us out the stadium. Because
right,
people talk about how great that team was, but people forget Texas was 1 possession from beating them, and it was just because of the Texas sucks. They never have a good quarterback, and if they would ever have a decent quarterback, they could beat more teams. But they can't beat teams like Alabama and LSU because they don't have a quarterback. So we can't be in those positions no more. Where if a tight end's not playing in the game, somebody opts out, or we got to be able to next person and not even
right.
worry about it. Because excuses, I'm tired of them. Because these are lame excuses, right? We have 60 people on our roster, and we can't fill a running back spot or a quarter spot. That game, when we played against LSU, we were plugging wide receivers in at corner. That's terrible. I think even Theo had to play corner a little bit. That's how bad that game was.
You think who?
I think Theo had to play some
Oh,
corner that
Weeks?
game. Yeah, I
I don't
know.
remember.
I know for sure. Uh, uh, who we lose last year? The one that went to Arkansas.
Oh, Hazelwood.
Hazelwood had to play corner that night because we were just so short-handed. And that was the wrong time to be short-handed, but it's still no excuse. I think that like even with the Florida State game, I'm not mad at Sawchuk for fumbling that ball. I don't
No,
even when I was like, he didn't fumble that. He was down. And I looked, I was like, he fumbled it. He knocked it loose. I wasn't
no,
even
that was a
mad.
good hit. That was
That was
sometimes.
a good play. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you got to give your hat to the defense. It wasn't like he was carrying it loosely and got
Yep.
stripped or whatever. No, it was just a hat on it ball. That
Mm-hmm.
happens, So
Because 500 yards on that defense is supposed to be enough. 500
yeah,
yards is enough. Because like I said, that play, I feel like it didn't really hurt us. I mean, it hurt us because it could have put the game away, but we had 2 more possessions to make a defensive stop, and it didn't happen.
right.
He fumbled it on our 30, not their 30. So yeah, 70 yards to make a play, and we didn't on defense.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
I want to
unfortunate.
give a shout out to Billy. He's online watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of our. It's the first time watching the show, and Billy is a Georgia fan.
Oh man.
Yeah,
We just had a game last night that was just as good as our game, but I think our game was still better. Georgia versus OU was better.
well, yeah, we're gonna find out. TCU and or Ohio State and Georgia. That was a great game. That
Yeah.
was a great game. Ohio
Mm-hmm.
State, I think, gave that one away.
Yeah.
But it changed the game also when Harrison got hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know how serious of a concussion he got. I don't know if he'd have been able to play if they had won. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
usually it takes you a little over a week. So I don't know if he'd been able to play or not. But that was definitely a key. And we talked about opt outs. What's really weird is the first time ever that I've heard of
Hmm.
anyway is Ohio State had a player opt out for the go to the NFL draft, and they're in the playoffs.
Yeah. I don't even like it when coaches do that. I don't think coaches like how what's his name did that to him. Brian Kelly did it to Notre Dame last year, and they were one game from being
Yeah,
in the national
yeah,
championship.
yeah. That was pretty
That's weak.
foul on his part, but
It's weak, but it's also the NCAA's fault because they don't got none of their stuff together, bro. They don't. They should make it to where, hey, get through the bowl season. Let's start recruiting in January. I don't understand why all this stuff is in the month of December. Let these kids go play for their state championships. Let
so
them do all
the
that.
reason I'm gonna tell you why college coaches want that early signing period
Why is that?
because if the kid is good academically to where he
Mm-hmm.
can already graduate in December,
Mm-hmm.
then he can start practicing in January. He can enroll early and start practicing in January.
Oh,
So it
okay,
allows them that few extra months. It allows them to go through spring and play in the spring game.
okay,
You know,
yeah.
all of that stuff matters. Um, because in a way, yeah, you're not playing games,
Mm-hmm.
but in a way, it's almost a full year ahead of time, right? I mean, it's
Right.
not mathematically wise, it's not game wise, it's not. But if you look at the number of months that a football season is from
Mm-hmm.
August till December, now you allow them to come in, you let them start practicing in January till end of April.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same time frame. And so yeah, they're not playing games, but they get those practice reps in. They
Yeah,
get they understand what college is about, and then they
and all that
start
stuff matters too. Yep. Yep.
yeah, then they start with their 7-on-7 drills. So
Mm-hmm.
it all matters, and those few months, those 3 or 4 months, can make a big difference on just how good your your team can be. I mean, look at TCU. Look at TCU.
Yeah.
There ain't a freaking player outside of a TCU fan that
Yeah.
thought TCU was even. I mean, there's not a fan,
Yeah.
a commentator, anybody outside the University of TCU that thought TCU had a chance to
Right.
even play for a championship, whether it be a Big 12 championship or
Hmm.
a national championship.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
And they're
it's going to
lucky.
be interesting. For those of you who don't know, I did a little playoff show last Saturday, 2 hours before kickoff. I will tell you right now, go watch my show. You're going to say, God dang, old man Nate know what he talking about. Oh man, Nate know what he talking about. I said first thing I said was this is the most even four teams in a playoff in the
Hmm.
history of the playoffs.
Yep.
And what happened? Two close games came down to the wire.
Yep.
So I'm not going to give no predictions yet. We'll wait till Monday night
I
where I will
am.
do a show at 4:30 Central Time
Hmm.
to give my feed on what I think will happen for the college football national championship.
Georgia by 14. And you're about to
I'm
see
not saying nothing. Like I gotta say that for my show. But old man Jump says Georgia by 14.
by 14.
He's making Billy the barber a little happy right now.
TCU is going to do good the first two quarters. The third quarter is going to be hell for them. And that's when Georgia's going to win the game, the third quarter. The problem with Big 12 teams, and there's enough data out there, you will see it. We have terrible, terrible third quarters. TCU is one. Oh, for example, let's talk about some bad officiating, right? Did you know on that 50-yard bomb that Michigan threw and caught on the one where a dude kind of bobbled it and he fell in the end zone? The referee should have spotted it on the 49, but he spotted it on the wrong 49. And that goes back to that coaching, like, hey, that spot is wrong. I don't know what's wrong with the officiating lady lately, but they've been spotting balls a yard short way too much. So you spot that ball correctly, that's 7 points. that game again turns differently in that third quarter. You know what I'm saying? And it's almost like OU Georgia. We had a terrible third quarter against Georgia and got blown out the damn water. It just happens all the time where you think they go into the locker room ready and come out, but it's just like third quarters just haunt a lot of the Big 12 teams, and you're going to see that. I promise you. I just think that TCU has a chance, but man, I don't see how they're going to be able to keep up.
Oh man, Jump, you're saying the same thing that they said before TCU Michigan game.
Oh no, I wasn't saying that before.
Not you. I didn't say you did.
Yeah.
I'm saying everybody. You watch. If you watched all the pregame shows, when nobody picking TCU.
Yeah.
In fact, they all said it was going to get blown out.
I will say this: TCU does have a chance because they have a lot of heart. They have a lot of heart, and so they need everything to go right. And they got to have a good third quarter. If they do not have a good third quarter, you can kiss them goodbye. Because the game will be over by mid-fourth.
I just on the play you're talking about, the throw.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. First of all, I want to say this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the channel I was watching was a Michigan channel.
Mm-hmm.
But they were just showing so much favoritism toward Michigan. If something happened wrong against Michigan, they were trying to find an excuse for it.
Yeah, let me be clear on that. TCU beat them fair and square. That's not good.
They did.
Don't run a triple reverse on the 10-yard line. How about that?
Huh?
Don't run a triple reverse on the 10-yard line.
Oh, all right. So yeah, let's talk about all of Michigan's mistakes. On the first drive, they get all the way down to inside the 5-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way,
don't fumble the ball on the one.
Yeah, exactly. They get stopped on a trick play on 4th down, so they got 0 points out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Then their next time down there, they got 3 points, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third time, the play you're talking about, where the refs ended up overturning the touchdown and spotting it a half a yard short.
Mm-hmm.
Now, TCU had nothing to do with that spot, right?
Nope.
And then the first play afterwards, TCU didn't even cause the fumble. Michigan fumbled the ball themselves.
Correct.
And TCU got the ball in the end zone, recovered the ball in the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
So Michigan beat themselves on that. But not to mention, Michigan's quarterback threw 2 pick sixes. Not one, but 2.
2. So, referees don't have nothing to do with none of that.
Yeah. So, referee didn't have nothing to do with that. So I think TCU was they did exactly what they were supposed to do. Their offense didn't even do that great. Now they did respond whenever Michigan would come back. One of them, the defense helped respond with that pick 6.
But here's another thing, Nate. Michigan stopped blitzing your corner, because every time you blitz a corner, TCU gets a 70-yard touchdown. I don't know why they kept blitzing corners. It was like the first time, okay. The second time, I'm like, damn. Third time, I'm like, bro, stop sitting corners. They're reading your defense.
Yep.
Kudos to TCU. They won that game fair and square. That's why I was like, a couple of these calls were bad, but it didn't.
And they ran the ball very well against a top 3 rushing defense in Michigan.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So they had 2 guys run for over 100 yards. One of them being their backup. The other guy would have ran probably 200 yards if he don't get hurt. And I'm curious to see if he's going to even be able to play on Monday night. Don't know the extent of his injury, but it was a knee injury, they said. So hopefully he'll be all right and be able to play. But their backup looked like he was capable of doing the job too. So,
right.
Yeah. No, great game. And then the Ohio State Georgia game, that was a back and forth game.
Yeah.
I actually picked Ohio State in that game.
Mhm.
I did, but I
I
picked
picked
them.
TCU and Ohio State.
Yep, TCU and Ohio State's who I picked, and got
Mhm.
TCU right. Ohio State probably should have won it, but when Marvin Harrison Jr. went out, that changed them a
Which,
little bit.
yeah, it changed the dynamic.
But I also stated that if C.J. Stroud does not run the ball, they will
Mhm.
not have a chance to win. And he ended up running the ball.
A
He
lot.
doesn't like to run the ball. He likes to the field will be wide open. There'll be 30 yards in front of him with nobody near, and he would just stand there and try and throw the ball a lot of
Mhm.
times this season. But he did run the ball a lot the other night, and he probably should have ran it more. I didn't like the fact that Ohio State, once they got down there by field goal range, that
Mhm.
they just tried to play for the field goal. I
Yeah.
understand you didn't have no timeouts. I understand you didn't want to take a sack. But CJ Stroud, your best player.
Yeah.
What keep doing what you're doing. Get them closer. Don't put the pressure on this kicker. I don't care that he had never missed all year long. That's that's a pressure kick. You
Yeah.
don't want that. You put on guys who play 4 or 5 plays a game. Don't do
Right.
that. That's
Yeah.
like asking some guy who never, your your third best shooting guard to come in who plays maybe 30 seconds a game to come in and game winning free throws, in the state championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not a good look, man. Not a good look. So
Yeah. But Georgia has been down a couple of times this year where even Missouri had them on the ropes.
yeah,
Um, Stetson threw for over 400 on Ohio State. They
yeah,
cannot do the same to TCU. If they fall behind on TCU, TCU is going to beat them because they're
well,
disciplined. Those teams that are just disciplined and don't make a lot of mistakes. I mean, they're hard to beat because they're not going
mhm,
to give you a chance to give up the ball. And they did the exact opposite to Michigan's, where it's like pick six, missed field goal. Well, it wasn't missed field goal. It was a fumble on the one. That's 35 points almost right there. So Georgia can't do that to TCU. TCU will
right.
put that game away because they got TCU, that number one, he's going to the NFL.
Yeah,
He will play on Sundays for a long time. That kid can play. He puts his hands in the dirt, and he's just loyal, and he got good hands. He's a really good wide receiver. Yeah, Georgia's got their work cut out, but I still think they win about 2 touchdowns because they just got so many people that for TCU to deal with. But TCU's defense is good enough to cause Bennett some problems.
yeah,
Georgia don't have a dedicated running back. I don't think they do. They kind of just throw people out there. I know the kid McIntosh is pretty good, right? So I have a good question for you too.
okay.
In that Michigan game, Michigan versus TCU, after this weekend, I don't know what targeting is anymore again because I've seen them hit people with targeting for worse. I was so shocked when they did not give them a targeting on that last play. You know what play I'm talking about?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Ohio State one, I can kind of understand why they picked it up because he used his shoulder kind of. For them saying he's defenseless, he wasn't defenseless. I thought was crap because he was clearly defenseless. He's looking at the ball. It kind of
mhm,
reminded me of when we played against Florida and we had a wide receiver go up the sideline. He clearly got PI'd, but they didn't throw it. They just thought it was a big hit. That's what happened to Ohio State player. It was boom, boom. But the Michigan versus TCU hit, the one where the TCU player hits him, and they picked it up. Did you think that was a crown? That was crown in the helmet?
Well, I didn't really see the play. I know what play you're talking about, but I really didn't see it in depth, so I don't know if it was crown on the helmet or not.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, watching the USC game earlier today,
Mm-hmm.
they kind of broke down targeting a little bit once a player is not defenseless anymore,
Yeah.
which that player was not defenseless.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on
Yeah.
the Michigan player was not defenseless,
That makes
and
sense.
they're saying that even if you hit helmet to helmet,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not the crown of the helmet, which means the middle of the
Yeah.
helmet, the
Right
top
here.
part of the helmet.
Like a spear. Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's not targeting. Because I thought when I was watching USC, I was like, man, yeah, that's targeting for sure.
Yeah,
But they said he hit him with the forehead of
the
the helmet,
forehead. Yeah,
and so because he wasn't defenseless, then that took away the targeting.
that makes sense.
Now, uh, that is a interpretation rule where as a basketball officials, I understand sometimes on some of these rules, different people will interpret them a little different.
Yeah,
So you may see uh, you may see next year or next week in the game, the officials call it differently.
yeah.
So,
If I'm excited now because I agree, this was the best playoffs I've ever seen, where both games are super duper entertaining. I know we made it entertaining in one of them. The other one, we just showed up too late. We've been in what, four of these?
yeah,
Clemson, the time we played Clemson, we only lost by 10. We were driving, getting ready to go up, but we turned it over and they scored again. I feel like that one was a good one too. They just outcoached us that game. But I really like where this is going. Do you like the 12 team or do you not like it going to 12?
no, I like the 12. I will say that there could have been some arguments saying 12 teams was too much because
Mm-hmm.
look at the way that 4 teams is get watered down a lot. A lot of times, one of those semifinal games is a blowout, if not both, right?
Yeah.
Well, this year there was no watered down. It was 4 good teams, and then if you look at what the bowl results were
Mm-hmm.
with Tennessee and with Alabama, you could
Mm-hmm.
throw them in it. So you could say we could have had 6 for sure, really good ones. I would have to actually break it down further to see what other teams could have qualified when you
Mm-hmm.
break down who's the conference winners and all that also.
Mm-hmm.
Who would have been the other teams.
Yeah.
I really don't know off the top of my head, but I do think 12 is good.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible? Here's the thing I don't like, right? Um, if you're in one of the, I really would like to see 16 teams, okay? And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
If you have with the 12 teams, then the top 4 teams are going to get a bye the first round, all right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The 4 best teams are going to get a bye.
Okay.
Well, the other 8 teams are going to play each other, and 4 of those teams, the 4 best teams in those seeds, are going to get a home game in the
Yeah.
first round.
That makes sense. It helps the school and all that good stuff. Yep.
Right. Well, if you're going to give a first round bye to the best in the first round, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to give home field advantage in the first round, then those teams that are getting buys
Mm-hmm.
deserve the opportunity to make some extra revenue as well.
That
So,
makes sense. Yeah.
so that's why I would like to see 16 teams. Give those top 4 teams, make them play also. Make them give them. I mean, because they want to make money. They should win, right? Because they're going to play the 4 worst teams
Yeah.
in it, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's just my thoughts. Because after that, the second round on is neutral sites, right?
Can I give you one caveat to that I don't like about any of this?
Okay.
I don't like the automatic bid idea. I think that's stupid because they don't all have to play. Everybody's schedule is different. It only automatic bids work in college basketball because everyone plays everybody and everybody's schedule is pretty damn tough. Period. Across the board, no matter what conference you're in. What we
So
have here is teams are able to kind of pick their schedule, and just because they're in a certain conference, they can say war schedule is tough. And I have to disagree. Does that make sense? Because Georgia hasn't played. Uh, I think who is it? I think they haven't played Alabama more than 20 times, more than 30 times. I think that stat is ridiculous to be in somebody's conference for 100 years and you ain't played somebody at least 50 times that's been in your conference. You see what I'm saying? So how just because your side of the bracket is good doesn't mean the bottom side of it is good. Does that make sense? So that's the problem I have with automatic bids because I feel like the moment a team from the Pac-12 gets in, everybody's like, oh, they don't deserve a bye. And it's like, how do you know that? Because they only can play who's in front of them.
Right.
I think they need to go to a semi style like the NFL does, where, example, Michigan next year, you're going to have to go play someone like LSU, or same thing with USC. Okay, you know, let's say Utah. You won the Pac-12. You're so good. You got Penn State next year.
So no, I don't agree with that because
why not?
Well, because you're making the NCAA tell you who you got to go play, and it's not like an
it's their
NFL
league
where you got 30-something teams, right?
Right, but it's their league. Because
no, it's not. No, it's not.
I know it's not. I know it's not. I think that's the problem. Just like with Notre Dame, they don't have to be in a conference, and I think that's BS. They should be forced to be in a conference, or you don't get in.
Well, I think that will happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Notre Dame will join a conference.
They're gonna have. They should have to join one.
They don't. They shouldn't have to. But if they want to guarantee themselves in a playoff, then they're going to have to.
Why do you think they shouldn't have to?
Because here's. I mean, I think everybody should have the right have a choice if you want to be in a conference or not. But if they don't join a conference, then they're not going to get one of those 4 buys because those are conference champions, and they're not going to be a conference champion. So they're going to join a conference, and they're probably going to join the ACC because they already play a lot of those schools every year anyway. And they actually did play 1 year during 2020 during the COVID year. They did play in the ACC, and I don't remember. Did they win the ACC championship? I think they lost in it.
I think they lost.
Played in it. They played in it, the championship game. So yeah, I think everybody should have a right, but you're hurting your team when you don't, or your school when you don't join the conference. Now, I do agree with the automatic buys. I do agree with the top 4 conference champions. Remember, because take a look at this right now. Okay. Look at this. If we was already in the 12-team playoff, Kansas State would have got one of the top 4 seeds, not TCU.
And I think that's not fair.
Why? They were the conference champion.
Because TCU already lost to Kansas State once.
No, they didn't. TCU beat Kansas State the first time. They lost to them the second time around.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So they split.
But they were the conference champion. Who gets to take the trophy home?
I get that, but then that's just still not fair because TCU beat them the first time. Well, all he did was beat them one more time the last time.
But that's why you play the game, all right?
Right.
The idea is to be the best team at the end of the season. Not the best team in the beginning of the season, the best team at the end of the season. And that's one thing I love about the Big 10, or Big 12, I'm sorry, Big 12 conference.
They have to pay everybody.
They play everybody.
Yeah.
Whereas these other conferences,
they dodge everybody.
Schedules are watered down if you're a good team, right?
Yeah.
If you're, like you mentioned a while ago, if you're Alabama or Georgia, you don't play a tough schedule, right?
Yeah.
Everybody says about the SEC is the toughest conference in the country. Yeah, if you're Vanderbilt, it is. Because you're always playing Alabama every year. You're always going to play the top teams every year, right?
Yeah, but in Alabama, in Georgia's defense, they did put Oregon on their schedule.
They did. They won that game handily. Yeah. Right?
But then they also had Samford, Kent State, Georgia Tech on their schedule.
And they play Georgia Tech every year. Okay.
Yeah. Whatever.
So because it's a state. I don't know. I wouldn't call it a rivalry.
Yeah.
It's a state game.
It's a state game.
Sanford's actually a good school, but they're not at the same level. They're a smaller school. They actually went 11-2.
Georgia's schedule is still tough though, because they did have to play against Tennessee, but they didn't have to play Alabama. They did have to play against a good LSU team.
So
and that's it.
Let me say, when they made that schedule, when they made that conference schedule, when the conference made that schedule, I should say, they did not think Tennessee was going to be good this year.
Yeah.
Right?
Real quick. Your boy said that Big 12 doesn't schedule tough games. We actually do. Texas and OU, we schedule tough games. We actually schedule SEC teams on our schedule. So we've had Tennessee, we've had Auburn, we've had Notre Dame, we beat Auburn in a bowl game. We've put Tennessee on our schedule. We've put Oregon on our schedule. We put Notre Dame. We put Ohio State. No one can talk to OU about scheduling. We even put LSU on our schedule. They dodged us and took Texas instead because they knew coming to Norman was going to be hell to play. So, and also Oklahoma State scheduled Georgia before on their schedule and beat Georgia twice at home. One time at OSU, and they beat Georgia at Georgia. The top side of our school of our conference schedule people. The bottom, I don't know what they be doing. Is that fair?
Oh, you're right. You're 100% right. The OU has scheduled some pretty heavy hitters. Now they also have Clemson on the schedule for the future.
Yep.
So, but yeah, and we also, by the way, you left off Florida State. Left off UCLA.
Yep.
Nebraska.
Yep.
Now I understand that Nebraska's not as good as they were, but when we make these schedules, we don't make them year out. We make them 10, 12 years, and you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, we're just not scared to play anybody. We got Michigan. We got Michigan on our schedule in 3 years.
Yeah, Michigan. Actually, Michigan's in 2 years. They're coming Norman in 2 years.
We're not scared to schedule anybody.
Right.
We ain't. Hey, you can say we tripping, but I mean these are facts.
Go look it up.
Go look all of this stuff up. These are people. We got Michigan on our schedule. LSU literally ran from us.
They did.
They ran from us because we wanted home first. That's all we wanted. We just wanted home first. I can't, and I'm gonna tell you this, Nate. I think we should make the trip. I want to go to a LSU OU game, win or lose. That game is going to be bananas.
Yeah.
The first game in Death Valley, even the one whenever we get to go to play Georgia. Oh my God, is that the trenches? Is that between the edges, the hedges? Is that what that stadium's called? We're gonna have some really good football games, but I can't wait to play on it.
Who are you saying they weren't good when we played them? Who's that?
Who?
Florida State. We went down to Florida State and beat them when we was both top 5 teams in the country.
Notre Dame too. They won't scare.
That's because we're coming to your dead conference. We don't have to schedule you.
He's talking about when OSU scheduled them because OSU handed it to him twice. And that's when OSU was a powerhouse.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about OSU.
Hey, we had Alabama on our schedule. We was running Alabama out of our stadium before Alabama was cool. So we have a history of scheduling teams. We're not scared. People can say a lot of things. Call us chokes, call us letdowns, call us whatever you want. But scared is not one of them.
Right.
Because we schedule teams. Every 5 years, we got at least 2 or 3 top 10 teams. We're not scared of anyone.
Hey, Billy, you're over there saying, what's the excuse? Tell me what the excuse is that Georgia, the last 2 years they played for national championship, they've only played one good team in their conference. One good team. They only played LSU because of the championship. Their regular season games, LSU was not any good. Matter of fact, you're talking about how bad LSU is. They lost 4 games this year and still play for the conference championship.
That's a good point. That is a very good point.
Yeah. So
in the conference at that.
I understand, Billy. You have no say so on the schedule. You just play what's in front of you. I got that, right? But that's the one thing that, and I already know what happened when OU and Texas come in there. We're going to play Alabama and Georgia every year because they're going to want to try and make us prove who we are, right?
And we're not scared to do that.
We're not scared to do that, so we're going to do that, right? But tell me why Georgia and Alabama or whoever is the best team in your conference at the time, their conference schedule, and it's not like your conference schedule is made 2 or 3 years in advance. It comes out the year before. They know who's going to be pretty good and who's not. And so tell me why Alabama and Georgia never have to play more than 2 conference teams that are pretty good. Right? Whereas in the Big 12, we play everybody. It don't matter. I mean, and all they do is alternate home and away. So if we play Oklahoma State at home this year, next year we're playing in Stillwater. So
Georgia's a great team.
There is no favoritism in the Big 12 conference because we play everybody.
And I'm gonna be fair with you. Let's say the past 15 years, there's 4 teams that's been consistent from 2005 all the way to now. That's Oklahoma, Ohio State, Alabama, and Georgia. I can say that. But Georgia has only played one ranked team in top 5 all season long. So
you played 1 to 5 last year and what?
No,
badminton.
You only played this year. They only played Tennessee.
Yes.
And the quarterback was hurt that game, right? No. They had him.
He played.
He just got drilled.
But it was a home game.
And that's not their fault. And I think even the year before that, Georgia, who they play that year? They didn't play.
They played Alabama, and it was the first time they played them in 15 years.
Yeah. And that just doesn't – that's why I can't wait to get in that conference. I want all that clout. I want all the clout of not having to play Alabama or excuse me. I won't have because we're going to play Alabama. We'll probably play Alabama and LSU every year, right? I'm going to love not having to play against Florida every year.
Yeah.
Y'all only played 1 last year. You played 1 this year. You played 1 last year. No. Well, let me confirm. And we're not discrediting the Georgia Bulldogs. Y'all are the national champions. Y'all are the best team in the nation, hands down. There's no arguing it. We're just saying you guys don't have to deal with a lot that other teams have to deal with.
So if you also listen to my playoff show, I talked about the reason I thought that Michigan would lose to TCU is because the Big Ten is not as good as everybody makes it out to be.
It ain't.
You take matter of fact, really, you take Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, who were all in the same division, out of that conference, and there ain't no good team in there.
Last year, y'all played Clemson, and Clemson ended up losing 6 games, and you played Alabama. That was it. That's top 5. You played also at the time, Arkansas was ranked 8th in the nation. We all know how their season ended. Auburn was 18th. Kentucky was 11th. And here's another thing about SEC bias stuff. You guys get high rankings early, so it looks like you beat up 8 Arkansas when Arkansas was really trash the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's also just like that. The football there is really good. We're not gonna downplay it, but at the same time, Arkansas put Arkansas and Baylor on the same field in the same conference, they'll be the same team.
Ricky, Arkansas barely beat Kansas in the bowl game.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Exactly, our worst team on our conference, Arkansas struggled with. So 2021, same thing. You played Alabama, was the only team that you played that was ranked. Guess who was the team in 2020 that they played against that was ranked that high? Alabama. So it's like if Alabama ain't on your schedule, you have no one. And the year before that, it was LSU. That's what I'm saying. I can't wait to get in this conference, bro. We're going to get all the clout and not have to play none of these teams. We're just going to deal with the I'm interested in how that's going to work because it's going to be kind of unfair. Can you imagine? It's going to be Auburn. I mean, it's going to be LSU, Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma. That right there alone is a handful. Can you imagine your schedule being Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Texas, LSU, Alabama? You're gonna go 1-2. You're gonna go 1-4. I don't see how a team could put up with that. So I don't know how the SEC is gonna split the divisions up. They definitely might want to move LSU over. Somebody's gonna have to move over because that's gonna be too much. Maybe flip Georgia and Alabama on the same side so they can actually play each other more.
Billy, you're not hearing us, okay? Yeah. We're not saying there's not good teams in the SEC. We're saying that you don't play other good teams in the regular season. You may play one, you may play two, but you don't play them all. Like in the Big 10 or Big 12, we play everybody every season. Now, I understand you got so many teams you can't do that. I get that, right? But you can't sit there and say you're the best team in the conference when you ain't played everybody.
And I think the problem is the reason why SEC is so successful is because they're so loaded. They don't have to deal with the kind of November that most teams deal with. The Big Ten has a tough November. Pac-12 has a tough November. Big 12 have a tough November. ACC's November is terrible. But you go look at the SEC, they got Citadel sitting at the middle of the month as a warm-up game. Then they have their tough game, and then they have the SEC championship, and then that's it.
Yeah.
This year we only won 2, and that's because one of our teams is in the playoffs, right? Oh no, they won their game, and I think Texas just sucks. I don't know.
Texas lost.
Texas what? They lost.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I can say the same thing back to you, Billy. What happened with LSU last year with Kansas State? Because Kansas State ran them out the stadium.
Yeah. So you're making all these excuses, Billy, just like a typical SEC fan, because when OU took it to Georgia, took it to Alabama,
we took it to them
Auburn. All we heard was, "Oh, that game didn't matter for us."
Yeah, that's what they be saying. It didn't matter, and it didn't matter when they win.
It won the championship, so it didn't matter. Yeah.
You know what? The crazy thing about that Georgia game, kudos to Georgia because they played a hell of a second half. Raleigh doesn't kick a squid, that game is over too.
I thought we messed up too because we did the same thing against Florida State.
Yeah.
It was really bad, but luckily Florida State didn't take advantage of it. But
you don't squib, we don't even go into overtime if you don't squib that ball. Y'all just run out of time. And then another thing about that game that sucks that Raleigh screwed up is Baker had the flu, no excuse. But once Baker got hurt on that cheap shot, you fire Kyler Murray out there and say, hey, you know the plays, finish this game. Yeah. That's what you do. Because Baker throws a bad pick that was ill-advised, and then I'm just saying.
Billy, I'm going to tell you right now, mark this down. If TCU beats Georgia, then yes, the Big 12 was better than the SEC this year. All right? And I'm going to tell you why. Because that meant from top to bottom, because guess who's at the bottom? Kansas, who was better this year. That means from top to bottom, we were better. Right? Whereas y'all bottom feeder teams, they're not very good.
They're not that good, no.
They're not.
West Virginia would run Vanderbilt out of the stadium. West Virginia could probably beat half of the bottom of the big SEC. Is that fair to say, Nate?
West Virginia and Iowa State. Iowa State was terrible this year.
Yeah.
Iowa State would beat Vanderbilt.
And Kentucky.
What the hell are you talking about?
Players do they
Billy.
For LSU.
Billy. You can rest your fingers. We're going to continue on with our show. All right.
I like Billy though.
Yeah, Billy. I appreciate all the comment, man. We're responding best we can. We appreciate everything. So, anyway, we've already been on here an hour and a half. We probably need to go ahead and wrap it up for the night.
Yeah, I think OU, just to kind of talk about what I think we're going to be fine. Program. That's the good thing. Is we're one of those teams. I always talk about. Well, I like to argue with Texas fans. I'm like, you guys are not a blue blood. I don't care what nobody say. Texas is just not a blue blood. A blue blood is when you got your. They have the opportunity to have more 5 stars than any other college in the world, in the nation, and they can't do it. And they come out here. Can you imagine this? Texas has been 5-7 more times than any school in any top level program in the past 10 years. Yet people still think that they're better than us right now. Can you think about that for a second? Like, imagine if OU had 3. We only had 1 6 and 7 season. Can you imagine us having 2 of those or 3? Texas has had 4.
Right.
That's the part I don't get.
people who actually watch football or know football, they don't think what you said. They don't think that Texas is better than OU. Okay, it's
Right.
people who just buy Texas gear, right?
Yeah.
That actually think
Mm-hmm.
that Texas is a better program than OU.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm gonna shut it off after this, but shut it down after this. But there will be a show coming up within the next week on the NIL
Mm-hmm.
and how much it has impacted the college football game, right? And it's going to surprise some people. I've already done some research on it, and I will tell you right now, it's just going to shock you on some
Yeah.
things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say in a good way or in a bad way, but it will shock you. And Texas has the opportunity to really, Oregon's another one. Those two
Right.
teams have the opportunity to change football in general with the NIL if they have the opportunity. That's all I'm going to say. Now, will that happen? Well, we've already seen really. It takes more than money. If you look at Texas A&M, right? Texas A&M had the best recruiting class last year, and as I stated in a couple of shows ago, they signed 26 recruit and last year in 2021 class, and 16 of them are already gone.
Yeah.
Okay, and they talked about the NIL, why they went there, and there's one of those recruits, one of our OU's big recruits, who we thought we was getting, the defensive lineman kid.
Mm-hmm.
We think he's signed because of Texas A&M's NIL deal. If that's true, more power to him. But that doesn't mean he's going to get the long money when he goes to NFL, and that doesn't mean that Texas A&M is going, or any school is going to win ball games because they're able to get these top recruits. It takes more than that. You still got to get them to gel together and play as a team, and you got to know what you're doing as a coach. So
Yeah.
that's the toughest part about this whole situation is being
Yeah.
able to control the kids, get them to play. You know, if
They
you,
need that footage, man.
we have as an NBA team here, NBA City, Oklahoma City now, we have personally seen what an NBA player, how they respect coaches because they get paid more than them, right? The
Mm-hmm.
same thing can happen in the NIL. They're thinking, man, I ain't gonna listen to you. I'm already getting these millions of dollars or these $100,000.
Yep.
So you still gotta get it to work.
Yeah. They just need to get some stuff in place. I've told you this before. In my opinion, I think teams should. I think what has happened with the NIL is it's strayed away from what should have been happening in the first place. People should be able to say, "Hey, Chick-fil-A, sponsor me. I'm worth the money." Somebody from Texas should not be able to say, "You come play offensive lineman in Texas. I'm going to give you $50,000 the whole line." You shouldn't be able to do that. It should be, "Hey, I own this company. We're wanting to sponsor you as an individual. Not, this is our team. We're paying for you." That's bull. I think that's bull. It's not
Yeah.
fair. It's because Texas does have that money, and I don't know. That's why I say, like, man, going to the SEC is actually going to help them. Maybe.
We'll have our name on these top recruits still because they're
Yeah.
playing in a conference. But I mean, well, I've always argued, but I think we already had that. But people say now they're
Mm-hmm.
telling me we'll have more
Mm-hmm.
names, especially the defensive line. And that might
We'll,
be true.
we'll see. I will say, let me answer this last question for Billy. He said, how many of the players from the LSU game last year when they played against Kansas State opted out? I will tell you this, Billy. All of them that opted out were backups and they were not starters. They had all of their starters that game. Also, actually, Kansas State was the one that lost their best players to the NFL. So if anybody was shorthanded, it was Kansas State, and they still beat them by 3 touchdowns. You put any of these schools on an even playing field, anybody can lose. It's real easy to play these teams and lose when you don't have – people forget it. Remember when Utah beat Alabama? It was
That's right.
Put these kids on the field. We hold them to too high of a standard. They're still kids. They're not going to get up every Saturday. There's going to be one of those Saturdays when one team's motivated more than the other one, and they're going to lose a game. They're going to lose a game no matter how much talent they have. People keep forgetting when we beat Alabama, they had Henry. Henry did break off some good runs on us, but we was chopping Henry down. Mm-hmm. He's one of the best running backs in the league. They also had Amari Cooper. Mm-hmm. Sanchez locked Cooper up that game. Sanchez is not even in the league no more. That's so hey, any given Saturday, you start lining these people up. That's what me and Nate is all we're saying is start lining up against these teams all the time. And then the wear and tear on you'll start breaking down. Because even I feel like the Big Ten is not that tough because it's like, is it going to be Ohio State or Michigan? Ohio State or Michigan? Every now and then it might be Penn State. Every now and then it might be Wisconsin. But they're not producing every year like the way – I feel like the Big 12 is the second best conference in the nation.
I think it's the most even every week.
Yeah.
Like these other conferences, and some of it's because they became too many teams in there, but even the ACC. Yeah. You take away Clemson. When Clemson was winning national championships, there wasn't another good team in the conference at all, period.
We all knew that because Miami's not any good no more. No. And it's like Florida State's so up and down. We always knew it was going to be Clemson out that conference. There's nobody else you can name in that conference that can go to a different team and go win a game. Mm-hmm. None of them. And that's okay though, because eventually it might change in a couple of years, I guess. All we're saying is any given Saturday, I think a lot of these teams can win. That's the only thing I agree with the 16, because if it was 16th, the 16th team would be Tulane. And Tulane would be playing against Georgia, right? I would like to see that matchup. I think Georgia runs them out of the stadium, but what if a quarterback get hurt? What if Bennett's not feeling it? I remember when we beat Florida, everybody was talking about that Florida's quarterback. Remember that, Nate? They were talking about no, not Tebow. The last time we played Florida.
Oh, yeah. We intercepted him like 3 times.
3 times. And probably could have picked him out 4 or 5 more times. And we had to basically start putting in 5th strings not to run up the score anymore. And it's like nobody remembers that. I guess Florida didn't care about that game. Scrubs. When a scrub beat shit, I would say this year, Tennessee should not have beat Alabama. Tennessee don't have half the roster that Alabama has.
Okay, LSU. LSU beat Alabama. They had 4 losses.
They have 4 losses. Because the problem too, Nate, is
you didn't lose. You didn't lose, but you barely beat Missouri. Missouri had y'all beat.
Yeah.
You score a late touchdown in the game. Otherwise, you guys get beat. And by the way, if you want to talk about that, Kent State gave all you guys wanted to this year, and OU ran over Kent State, beat them by 30. And y'all struggled to beat them by 2 touchdowns.
Nate, here's another fun fact.
You're not unbeatable. You're not unbeatable.
Here's a fun fact, Nate. Let's remember this. Let's wind the clock back. Remember when Missouri and Texas A&M first got into the SEC? Do you remember what that was like? Texas A&M was playing for conference championships. I mean, Missouri was playing for conference championships. Texas A&M was running Alabama out of the stadium. 2 Big 12 teams. And the only reason why they stopped winning like the way they were, because they went away from what the Big 12 does, which is what Alabama runs right now, which is our offense.
Yeah.
The one that Nick won the game when we ran When we beat them in the Sugar Bowl, all of a sudden they got a spread offense now. They wasn't run. That wasn't Alabama football for a long time until we put it on them. What non-conference Big 12?
He's saying none of the other Big 12 teams can compete with OU. Well, Georgia's going to find out Monday night when TCU go to that butt. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm telling you, if Georgia doesn't have a good third quarter, buckle up because TCU can beat. TCU definitely can beat Georgia. Here's the salty part. Now let me be a hater for a second. I don't want TCU to win because the first thing everybody's going to say is, "Wow, the first time they get to the playoffs, they actually won. They did something OU can't do." And OU, unfortunately, we played teams that I'm telling you, Clemson had nothing but first-round draft picks. Georgia, first-round draft picks. Alabama, first-round draft picks. There has not been one playoff game that we played in where we played teams that were just decent. In Michigan was decent. They got how many first-round draft picks they got on that roster that you can think of right now for Michigan?
For Michigan?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know their team.
You don't, well. But I can tell you 6 off the top of my head from that Clemson team. Watson, Withrow. You see what I'm saying? The whole defensive line. We played. The people we had to play against, TCU would not be able to line up with.
Well.
Is that fair to say?
I mean, well, I guess you could say that. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know everybody that's on the Michigan team.
You don't know them because they're not as good. Yeah. They're just a good football team. They're don't get twisted. Michigan's a good team, but they didn't have anybody that we've played against.
Yeah.
We played against Josh Jacobs.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Tua. Did. You see what I'm saying? We didn't. McCarthy is a good quarterback, but he is not Tua. He is not Watson. And Watson's doing what he is, but he's still a good football player.
Right.
Georgia dominated the second half of the Missouri game, but it's Missouri.
You should have done that.
Missouri is terrible. What's their record right now?
Oh, they finished 6-7.
So you already know when I come on, you might as well just prepare for 2-hour shows.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what is Missouri's record?
They're 6-7.
They're 6-7, so they're just as bad as OU.
Yeah.
Even here's the thing about the branding stuff, right? Because people will give LSU their credit because they're LSU, right? I even think the people that the bowl picking community respects OU so much. It's like, we'll throw them against Florida State. They can handle it.
Right. Right.
Because of our name and our brand.
Exactly, because we were 6-6 playing against a 9-3
team that got left out of the conference championship. We wasn't sniffing a conference championship this year.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Florida State, what was their schedule like? I'm curious. Who all did they have on their schedule? They played somebody tough this year. I remember somebody got a hold of them and they lost to them bad. Clemson.
I think Clemson ran all over them.
Yeah.
Got them pretty good. But
guess who else they beat though? Florida, an SEC team.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you bringing me on the show. This was really fun.
Man, Ricky or Old Man Jump, I really appreciate you joining me today. I really do. We got to do this again.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, can I tell you some drama with our league that I'm in? That we're in?
Oh, I meant to talk to you about that, man. So yeah. So for those who don't know, Old Man Jump here, he plays in 2 of my fantasy leagues. And if you see behind me, kind of the logo for one of them, 405 Red Zone is the name of one of the fantasy leagues. And he's playing for the championship in not one, but both of my leagues. Now the other one, he don't have a chance in that one. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
He's down pretty good on that one. But this other one, I haven't even looked to see. I know right now it's in a pause because a player got hurt.
Yeah.
So I don't know the whole outcome on that. But you are playing for the championship in other league. Oh, by the way, he's playing against the same person in both leagues. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just a unique situation where in both of my leagues, the same two guys are playing for the championship. The other guy's going to win this one. And hopefully, old man Jump, you can get
This one.
this one. So go
I
ahead.
need
Tell me
that
what you got to
trophy.
say.
I need that belt, bro. I think the whole thing is crazy. Let me tell you what's so funny about this. I didn't start Tom Brady, and I was right about to start. Had I started Tom Brady, this would be over. This would be over. What's funny is our last two players are playing against each other in the same game. So
That's
one,
right.
yes, me and this dude is always going at it every year, and this is only fitting that it's coming down to this. But the game was postponed, so right now he's up by 4 points. Chase hasn't touched the field yet. So what's going to happen? Let's just say, because I've seen crazy things happen. What happens if the NFL cancels this game?
Well, I think that why is the game postponed?
I don't know. I think a player got hurt, and they was just like, it was that gruesome. Something happened so bad. I think he just fainted on the field, and they
When
ended.
he's saying he collapsed on the field, he's in critical condition, but that's really all I know.
Yeah,
It says being postponed until further information. So, I think probably what will happen. Honestly, I don't know. I don't
because
know if
it's unfair to both of us. Here's why it's unfair for him, and then unfair for me. It's unfair for me because my player hasn't touched the field. Unfair for him because it's going to delay him a possible win. I've never seen nothing like this happen before.
right.
I thought I would be celebrating
I'm sure
right now.
Yahoo will come down with something.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say? Maybe they can play the game. They're saying postponed, so they're still trying to play the game, right? So
Mm-hmm.
maybe they'll play the game tomorrow or Wednesday, and then move their last games to say Monday of next
Mm-hmm.
week, which would still give you guys your players the chance to play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what will happen. Again, but this game is starting. When we had the COVID games, Yahoo would move things around
Mm-hmm.
to make sure things would work. I don't know. Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a good question. So
I hope I win it though. It's like I'm I've always in these Yahoo leagues. I've never won a Yahoo league. I've always come second. And I'm like, this has got to be my year. And it's like my other team was so good. I think if my dudes don't get hurt, I don't lose a game. Like seriously, I had guys just get hurt, and we went on a 3-game losing streak. Then when I got them back, we won all the way out. And then this game, I don't know. Some of the play, I looked at his roster. I'm like, oh my god, what were we doing to let this guy get all these guys? But he picked up McCaffrey halfway through the season because McCaffrey wasn't playing. He picked up somebody else too. He's got a really good roster. But this other team, had I started Tom Brady, I wouldn't even be worried about this right now. But yeah, we'll see where it goes.
yeah.
Billy said we almost lost to Kansas last year. All right, we almost lost to Kansas for one reason. The reason why OU's season looked the way it looked is because we didn't have a head coach last year. Half of that year, the head coach was gone. He wasn't running his offense like he normally does. He wasn't doing anything to win games. Even when we played against Oklahoma State, you could kind of see how he had one foot out the door. And none of us could put a finger on it. It was like every week we was at the barbershops. Everybody was talking about, like, man, something's not right. Something is off. And we were undefeated for a long time. You remember this, Nate? Do you remember how the season was going? I'm not going to forget this because I remember every week I go to Scissorhands shop to get my hair cut. And every week I would come in. He was like, man, we won yesterday. But something, I don't know why we were struggling. I was like, bro, something's off. I said, there's two things that's bothering me. The first thing was bothering me. Lincoln wasn't opening up his playbook. He never opened up his playbook. Two, he wasn't letting Caleb scramble. It was almost like he was protecting him. And then finally, when we get to that Oklahoma State game, I'm like, dude, I don't know what's wrong with this guy. I think he's leaving for LSU. Do you remember me telling you that?
Yeah.
And no, he's gone to USC. I was like, oh, this dude been gone the whole season. He wasn't coaching us.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Baylor game, he was just not dialed in. Did you hear about players talking about how he wasn't at practice all week? Like, what the, what coach doesn't show up for practice all week?
Right.
That's weird. Even the players online was just dragging him. So anything that happened last year, the Kansas debacle, how we barely beat them, and what was another game we should have lost and we barely won? It was something.
Tulane.
Tulane. It was just weird the whole season.
I mean, really, all of our games we barely won.
Yeah.
Or not all of them, but most
It
of
was
them.
like only one or two that where we blew a team out,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just like in Florida, we blew out Florida. We blew out Florida, but that was about it. I mean, Lincoln was checked out. He's scared of the SEC. He was ready to go get his money, which was a really good deal. I just wish that he would have waited until after the bowl game. Like, hey guys, I got better opportunities. What does that look like for coaches? You know, coaches call out players all the time saying you need to stay committed to your team when they don't even do that. So how do you think you could fix that, Nate? If they're able to, coaches are able to pack up right after that last game of the season.
Well, that's why they allow players to transfer now. If your coach, if you have a new coach, they can transfer without any penalty or anything. But to emphasize your point, I guess you would say, or express my own theory on what happened. I believe in September of last year that Lincoln Riley's agent was contacted by USC, and he said, "Hey, we're willing to offer Lincoln this much amount of money to come out here, whatever was the contract was, right?" And you know, he took a couple of recruiting visits to California, where he did see some players, but he also visited with USC,
right?
And they came up with a informal contract, meaning it wasn't in writing because it couldn't be in writing. If it was ever found out that they had something in writing before place, then OU would sue USC and Lincoln Riley.
Right.
So it wasn't in writing. It was just a verbal or a handshaking contract. And the rest of the season, like you said, Lincoln Riley was checked out. He was not there mentally with the OU team. And you can say that because it really looked like there was no game plan the whole every game. You know, just up there doing what, run plays they normally run. And like you said, also former players that come out and talked about how practices were ran and that sort of thing. So I think what had happened, though, is I think Lincoln did talk to Grinch beforehand. Maybe even because there was originally rumored that Bill Bedenbaugh was leaving too and got on a plane, but he didn't.
Right.
So I think that there was probably he had talked to maybe Bill Bedenbaugh, maybe a couple other coaches and said, "Hey, this is my plan. Don't let it be known. Don't leak it.
Don't say nothing.
Don't say nothing." But his plan also was to make sure that they did not make it to the Big 12 championship. And I'm going to explain to you why. So, and by the way, if they had beat OSU that night, they would have played in the Big 12 championship against OSU the following week. It would have been a rematch.
Yep.
Now, keep in mind that OU would have just beaten OSU in Stillwater. OU is going into that game was 6-time defending national or conference champion.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So OSU is going into that game thinking they have no chance to win. They just beat us at our place. They're the 6-time defending Big 12 champion. We don't have a chance. We're just here to get some TV time.
Yep.
So if we go play in the Big 12 championship, we win.
We win that game. Yep.
There's no doubt about it. Now, what happens between the Big 12 championship and the playoff game. Because if we'd have won the Big 12, we would have sneaked into the playoff and over Cincinnati
Yep.
that year.
Yep.
And so
Just
what
off our
happened?
name.
Yeah, exactly. Because we would have only had one loss.
Yep.
That was to Baylor at their place by I think by 10 or something.
Like
But
last second field goal. Yep.
yeah, so we would have been in the playoff. What happens between the conference championship game and a playoff game?
Mm-hmm.
National Signing Day.
Yep.
So he couldn't make it to the Big 12 championship because all those players he was trying to flip instead of them going to OU to go to USC, they would have had to sign the dotted line at OU.
Yep.
He's not going to tell those players, "Hey, don't sign today. Wait till January. You can sign with USC."
Yeah.
Because I guarantee one of them would have talked. And all it takes is just one.
Just one.
To let it be known what he's got going on.
Yep.
So I do think that there was some stuff going on with him,
right,
and to sabotage OU, and you know, unless you can prove otherwise, I really think that is the case. He didn't want to, he didn't want to play for the Big 12 championship because they would have lost a lot of recruits.
Yep.
They ended up, and here's the thing though, some of those. Honestly, at the end of the day, I'm glad we didn't get those recruits, right?
Yeah.
There's not a single player that I wish we would have had come to OU instead of go to USC. Now, there's some players that were on the roster, like Mario Williams. I would have liked to keep him.
I would like to keep Mario.
So
I would have liked that one
Williams,
kid.
I would have loved to keep him.
The Caleb Williams, I would have loved to keep Caleb. And the one kid I would have wanted to keep out of that recruiting class is the running back. That's it.
I don't know who it is, but I'm just looking at who we got now, and I'm thinking we're just fine.
And I think we're fine. Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. And Billy, these ain't excuses. It just sucks. 'Cause I guarantee you, if this is anybody else's team, even Notre Dame fans, when their coach bounced on them and they're trying to play for a national to get in the playoffs to play for a national championship, and you have your coach just up and leave, it's part of the business, but at the same time, these are the same coaches. We wouldn't be complaining if it wasn't for Lincoln Riley complaining about one of the players going to he went to TCU or SMU. He complained about this kid going to another school and he wasn't playing them. And Lincoln complained about him all year long, gave the kid problems, wouldn't sign his papers for his transfer portal, wasting time all through October doing this. And then a month later, he's leaving. That's the problem. It was like he was being a big hypocrite and a big baby about it. We all understand that this is a business. We're not mad at him for going for the $6 million. We're mad the way he did it. It's almost like, dude, there were so many other ways he could have done it. Won the conference, won the championship, and said, hey, guys, I don't want to be here no more. Great opportunity. They're offering me $6 million plus paying off my both houses. Better environment. We're out. Cool. See you later. And it's honestly, Nate, I feel like this is the best thing that could happen. We just watched them get loose to Tulane, and it looked just like an OU game. It looked just like
100%.
what we went through.
It was like Lincoln Riley was handing the reins to a Lamborghini, handing the keys to a Lamborghini. And that Lamborghini got slower and slower every year because we weren't getting better. It wasn't getting faster and faster. It was getting slower and slower every year. And our defense was getting worse, even though I do think it was time for Mike Stoops to go. I do think in some ways that Grinch turned our defense around better than what Mike Stoops had going on.
Yeah, he did.
But it still was not where it needed to be. And Venables, I believe, is going to get it to where it needs to be. So,
yeah.
Well, Ricky, it's been 2 hours, man. I really appreciate you dialing in and calling in today. We're definitely going to have you back on.
Absolutely.
Again, for all your gaming people out there, check out HXC Gaming. Ricky, if you want to give your handle for Twitch and for YouTube, go ahead.
Yeah, y'all check out here. I'm gonna post it in the chat too. Check out anything HXC Gaming. Follow me on Twitter. You can follow me at Timmy Scorcher. A lot of my friends call me Jump. You can call me whatever. I'm also really big in the gaming world. If you ever need equipment. You need to understand streaming, equipment, gaming. I'm everything. Part of gaming. Just follow me on Twitter and shoot me a message. I'll be happy to help. Man, I'm excited for your future in this podcast, bro. This is great. I can talk to you all day about sports. So anytime you want me on, bro, you let me know. Root for my G-Men, my fantasy team. We need to win this championship so I can get that belt.
Man, I am. Well, I'm a commissioner, so I got to be biased, man.
Yeah, you do.
But I'm telling you, good luck to. Well, you know what? Since he's going to win the other one, I hope you win this one. That way you both get a championship, right?
That way we both get
That's
W's.
right.
I hope I win. But man, I love your league. I'm gonna be right back in it next year. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Again, thanks for everybody dialing in. And Ricky, I appreciate you having on. We're definitely going to do this again next soon, really soon. But for all y'all listening, like and subscribe, please. Comment, share this to all your friends. Anybody that likes sports, share this podcast to them. And everybody else, peace out. God bless.
Peace.